Okay, no, this is not, well, I won't say it's a redo, but this is just a recording that's focused on a particular MP, which I already did a few days ago, but I had to scrap it because, hey, there was some misinformation. But we're circling back to Ruel Reid, and yeah, in my previous recording, it was said that we talked about how they talked about Ruel Reid and his association with Jamaica College, and and how various people had resigned because Ruel Reid was put on a 5 year extended leave, which basically meant that he was just basically mean that he still was a part of the institution, but he was just and collecting benefits while not being present, which again Jamaica College are rubbished. No, and the thing is, it taught me that hey, sometimes it's not good to just jump the gun on every recording or story here, because some things don't end up being factual, and some things have some new details, last some curveballs thrown it. So yeah, scrap that one. But we're going back to Real Read, and here in a movie that makes Jamaica College look very suspect, and not surprising. Real Reid was just awarded a multi-million dollar settlement. No, you'd think that okay, after all of the scars on Real Reid's integrity, that you would be hopping mad, but there's like with the Cal Rittenhouse recording I just released this week. Yeah, I wasn't hopping mad. I wasn't like going brimstone and fire and this and that. I was thoroughly disgusted. I'm not surprised. And like with Cal Rittenhouse, that's institution. I would say that culture and mindset in the dominant society in North America. He's just their mascot. Rowan shares the same dynamic in Jamaica, that he is part of that colonial infrastructure that still governs Jamaica and sucking it dry. And what they're doing with Real Read is just meant to be, is not really so much meant to be okay. This is just a blatant spit in the face. It is, but more is more likely just to send a message to Jamaicans everywhere. And this is why it's going to be part of my general discussions. Alright, so the Unaccountability Chronicles with Ruel Reid take two. So, alright, so I'm going to read part of this article. I'm not going to read all of it because it's very lengthy, but you're going to get to it. But let's just get into it though. Disgraced Jamaica College principal Ruel Reid this weekend inked a multi-million dollar deal at the 11th or with the St. Andrews Boys Base School he had led for 14 years. Last minute settlement was reached to avert his return to Old Hope Road institution tomorrow, this week, with the expiration of his special leave yesterday. Reid has been seconded to the Education Ministry to take up a cabinet appointment in 2016, but was forced to resign 2 years ago in March amid some major fraud probing, which he is now facing criminal charges. The board of 232-year-old Jamaica College make public know they want Reid to return as headmaster. Their special leave expired this recently. And Education Ministry rejected the recommendation to extend the arrangement for 5 years, which is what I was talking about. That's why I kind of buried that first take with Ruel Reid. Reid has been here's where the bullshit starts rolling. Reid had been receiving roughly $5.5 million annual in salary and benefits from the government alone. 7 years that the figure would yield nearly $40 million, and that's at the taxpayers' benefit, of course. But we know where this fuckery goes. The third X deals are confidential. Of course they would be. But Sunday Gleaner source closely matter are suggesting that the pact, which takes into account housing annual JC Foundation payments of $2.5 million, will see Reid walk away with a payout of, in the reign of, and drumroll for everyone's going to be happy mad, $100 million, with the remaining 7 years of his contract brought to take him to his retirement at age 65. So there you have it, Ruel Reid. Yeah, even though he is a disgraced and damaged goods, he basically got his life on his way to the bank. Yeah, he took a hit to his credibility. Yeah, Jamaica College doesn't really want anything to do with him. It's not because hey, many people are angels either. They're not. They just basically said, okay, we're sending a message to all the people here that hey, this politician, which his own party publicly renounced, which they didn't. I mean, they just basically said they were cutting you loose just to just to save face. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he's still tied to to the current government behind closed doors because believe me, he's still at that cheese and croissant party with his forum is with the fellow MPs, and they're all pretty much yucking it up because all of them were really saying, hey, we're not really to say despite whatever bumps and bruises we get in whether we get caught up in whatever scandal, which is the norm regardless of which party is in power. Hey, we still walk away unscarred because you know what? As long as our freedom and our livelihoods are not affected, there's this is basically meant we're just basically sending a message to the Jamaican populace. Now, I'm tempted to read most of it though, 'cause a lot of it is just basically psychobabble. But what this basically said is this. Ruel Reid, yeah, as I predicted, was not really going to be punished. And yeah, his criminal trial is still ongoing, which basically means that the $100 million settlement, which is going to sort of taxpayers' money, of course, that's a lot to go towards his legal fees, and is more than likely going to end with him either getting a joke sentence. And I'm pretty sure like Kyle Rittenhouse, he won't see a jail cell because he's been long out on bail after he was arrested a while back. Him and Pinnock, and I'm pretty sure Pinnock has gotten or is about to get a bullshit settlement as well, if he hasn't already. But what this basically saying to the Jamaican public is that politicians are not to be punished, and people are under like who may not be MPs, but this is what Jamaica College, and I'm pretty sure that the people on Jamaica College, the people who gave that settlement, which are who are his fellow travelers, no doubt. All of them basically said, okay, we have a principle to uphold, and that principle is that if we start punishing politicians and and the rest of the elite and all the people in these high rolling circles, yeah, we're going to open a gate. We're going to start a snowball effect. That means that all other people that are going to start getting punished because you punish Ruel Reid just like you punish George Wright, Daryl Vaz, Floyd Green. I could be here till about 10 in the morning naming all of these people. Yeah, that's going to basically destroy that infrastructure Jamaica is built on. And what Jamaica is saying, we're confirming that hey, we're in bed with Ruel Reid and his ilk is that we're basically saying that hey, that MPs are not to be held accountable for their action, and that's basically meant to say that hey, we're upholding that infrastructure and hierarchy Jamaica is based on, and that $100 million settlement, which should have been gone, could have been put to better use in bettering the country, helping the economic situation, which is in worse shape because of COVID-19. Now, we're going to do that because we're protecting our own. We're circling our wagons for certain people in Jamaican society because they are part of that institution that must be upheld. And it's just like with the slave system in Europe, where a lot of these royals, these dukes, these earls, the monarchy, who all done some very criminal, dubious shit to the populace. Notice that many of them were not held accountable for their actions, and they're not meant to be held accountable for their action because in order for that system and infrastructure to stay, we have to make sure that certain people get this immunity from law treatment. And this is what the thing with Ruel Reid is. I mean, yeah, I'm totally disgusted, and this is basically saying that, and it's at the behest of a lot of the taxpayers too, because this is basically saying we're widening the economic gap because all that money that should have been gone towards helping Jamaica, of course, the infrastructure of Jamaica was not meant to benefit most Jamaicans, of course. We're going to make sure that our die-hearted, dying-wool emissaries of political corruption are shielded away from accountability, because that is basically what Ruel Reid is upholding, the principle of unaccountability. And yeah, Ruel Reid, yeah, all that's happened to Ruel Reid is that Ruel Reid was publicly embarrassed. He had to suffer the slings and arrows of being harangued in the media. He's just like with Al Miller with Dodos, just like with Daryl Vaz and many slander scans of caught up with, just like with Andrew Wheatley, George Wright, Philip Powell, Colin Spencer, and again, I will be here till about 9 in the morning naming all these people. The important thing is that, hey, we may take some hits to our credibility. The thing is, as long as our freedom and livelihood are not taken away from us. Yeah, we'll grin and bear it. I mean, we won't like it, but at the end of the day, is that we know that nothing's really going to happen to us, and nothing's meant to happen to people like these MPs, in regardless of which party they're in, because they're part of that infrastructure and that colonial institution that Jamaica is still governed by. And I've told how many of these MPs see themselves as slave masters, just like their European counterparts. And with a lot of these these counterparts, many of them have been shielded from accountability, and that is how it's set up, though. All right, I'm tempted to read all of it, but as again, it's just a lot of explaining about why Ruel Reid got that settlement, and in a lot of other societies or countries, Ruel Reid would have, after that those public scandal, he would not get a cent and so on. All of them could have just basically said, okay, will leave you in the wind as a result of what's going on in criminal trial. I mean, you'll be left to pay for your own legal fees, and then if you're likely found guilty, that's going to be the end of your career. But again, as I said, if you start going on the road Reid, and remember, Road Reid, if he goes down, he's going to start sinking a whole lot of people in his own party just to save himself, which is what a lot of them do not want, of course. But also the bigger thing is that if Road Reid goes down, who's the next MP that's going to be walking the plank? Who's the one that's going to be facing that proverbial gallows with that proverbial noose around their neck? Yeah, we're not trying to go down that rabbit hole, people. That's what they're saying right now. And as this is what I said, that it's not even about Ruel Reid the person, right? Yeah, I was disgusted, but most Jamaicans with a more backbone, of course, the ones that are either his diehard supporters or people, or just too indifferent or too dim-witted to actually acknowledge something like this. Yeah, that's nothing. I mean, like, we're more worried about where celebrities breeding with who's gay and who's not in society. I mean, because that's on the top of our priority scale. All right, and so on. All right, and whatever other functions, or like who's playing football or who's playing cricket or something very trivial and unintellectual. I mean, most people are going to forget about this by the end of this week, just like they thought about the Kevin Smith thing, and so on. Because remember, even though Kevin Smith may rot in the depths of hell, the people that were connected to Kevin Smith are not being exposed, even though some people, many of us know who those people are, but there's no proof. We'll forget about this, and at the end of the day is that the economic situation is going to worsen, because things like with this, and the thing what this proves is that, hey, Jamaica is not a poor country, because if it were, where does that $100 million come from? Most of that $100 million could have covered so much of things in Jamaica, picks up a lot of neighborhoods, giving a lot of economic opportunities to Jamaicans who need it. But we have more than enough to help out our fellow travelers or compatriots of the system of crime and corruption. I mean, that's who is in front of the priority line. That's who we're going to take off first. I mean, we're not really going to take care of the regular Jamaicans again who need that money more. And it was never meant to be that, though. But yeah, this is when I read this, though, is that I wasn't surprised. And don't be surprised that Ruel Reid walks when the criminal trial comes up, which are going to delay for years, like with the Carlos Hill and the Cash Plus thing. Yeah, he's going to either get this bullshit sentence where he pays his fine, like with Al Miller and Dudus, which I brought up before, or he's just going to just going to be acquitted completely, like with Carrot Nose. And best be sure that the judge or the jury who are in charge of the case against him and Pinnock, all of them who are most likely going to have been paid off by them. Yeah, they're just going to make sure that he doesn't see the jail cell or so on. Because again, he'll either just pay a fine with that $100 million settlement. He'll just pay off a small chunk, which will be like pocket money to him, or he'll just walk. Or that's basically, and the importance of that is that he upholds that principle of unaccountability. All right, because again, the law is not meant to set to punish politicians. And yeah, all the people are going to say that, oh, the laws need to be updated. Of course, they need to be updated. People, it's just that they don't want to update those laws, and that's for them reason. But again, as I said, with many scores about political corruption, that's the fault of most Jamaicans, because most Jamaicans decided that, hey, we like being slaves on a plantation. We see these politicians and these other people as our slave masters. We may complain periodically about treatment on that plantation, which we're not leaving, but we're not really going to say, hey, let's overthrow slave masters and treat them like the criminals they are. Instead, we will make excuses for them. We'll pretend that they can do no wrong. And most importantly, if these people get in any trouble, see how many people are going to come and give a witness statement on a character statement saying that people like Ruel Reid are paragons of virtue, that they won't hurt a fly, and that all people who have accused them of criminal misconduct or this and that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Ruel Reid supporters, in their idiocy, are at this moment basically saying that Ruel Reid was the aggrieved victim in all of this, and that the settlement he recorded was just. Now, bear in mind, he's not going to be giving any of these morons, these empty-headed dimwits, any part of that settlement, of course, but we just understand that we like being slaves. And that's why I was saying these recordings, yeah, it's not about Ruel Reid the person, just like it was about Floyd Green the person, just like it wasn't about George Wright the person, is what they symbolize. They symbolize that two-headed monster of crime and corruption, the monster that most Jamaicans refuse in their cowardice and their simplicity to fight and destroy. Alright? And if we had actually fought that monster, if we had sent a message to whatever leader, MPs or whichever party, the orange or the green one, we wouldn't be having things like this. In a society built on morals and accountability, Ruel Reid would not get a red cent, especially after all the stuff he's cultivated, and the people in the JC who gave him the settlement, who are his fellow buddies. All of those people would be exposed. All those people would have been forced to resign and criminally charged. But all of them should be joining Ruel Reid in a jail cell. But we do not live in that society, and we should live in that society. And this is why I'm doing this recording, because it's bigger than the person, is what he symbolizes. And yeah, Ruel Reid was not meant to be held accountable. Yeah, he was embarrassed. He was brought before. He was called up to the front of the congregation and exposed. Yeah, alright, he may have gotten some egg on his face. Alright, he may face public embarrassment. But at the end of the day, is that he still gets to go home to that nice house he lives in with his wife and kids. And I think his wife and daughter are criminally charged, and you're not hearing anything about them either. He still gets food on his table. He gets a roof over his head. Yeah, he still gets a little better than most of Jamaicans, which is by design, of course. But the thing about this, when I do these recordings, this is the Jamaica that we've allowed to fester and build up to. The Jamaica that where crime and corruption via through that colonial infrastructure that is still very much there. If we had taken a strong and hard stance about punishing those who need to be punished, there would not be this type of stuff. With that blatant disregard for law and order or accountability in Jamaican society. But that's some food for thought. Those who hear it are moved to say, hey, we need to change something. I'm glad to do these recordings for you. The ones who this is going to be lost when I post this. And I make no delusion that many are going to listen to this and is going to probably tap out and say, yeah, I don't really care what you're saying. I'm more focused on bullshit. I mean, yeah, talk about who's sleeping, which celebrity sleeping with who, and who is it, who is LGBT, or who breed for who. I mean, this is something mindless and brain rotting. I mean, yeah, that way we'll be more interested. But I will say this, just like when I was recording, that I care more about the quality of the followers I'm not tripping with the quantity of followers I get. I mean, if you're an intellectual person that with a moral compass and a backbone that generally wants change, I bet that if you're in a position where you can bring about change, big or small, this recording is for you. Everybody else who are just basically there for whatever reason that they said that, hey, I don't give a rat's ass about stuff like this. I don't care about Ruel Reid or his people. Yeah, I have nothing for you, and I'm going to be emphasizing that more and more. That yeah, I want people who generally are going to take this to heart and say, you know what, things have to change, and it's not just and because recordings alone cannot do this. Because me making YouTube videos, all right, is not going to bring about change. I can pretty much make 1,000 YouTube videos, but it's going to take enough people with a more backbone. So people with a war who have that warrior class mentality, because Jamaica needs it badly, to bring about that change. But that's where I'll leave it to right here. So just remember, real Reid's thing is that I'm disgusted, but I'm not surprised, and don't be surprised that this is the stage for him to walk from those criminal charges, and so on. Whenever that this trial commences, which they're going to keep delaying, of course. But that's it. So this is for State of Jamaica and the Caribbean. Check out my YouTube pages, Miles Goodson Fan, Miles Your Productions with Thoughts and Miles. I'm finished with this recording. I'm on to the next one.